guys. Thank you for joining our podcast. We really appreciate it, and please be kind because we are very new in this and we are learning, but we do appreciate your time. And hopefully we're going to bring you different topics that will add value to you when it comes to property, when it comes to building, buying, and so on. And today we have brought two experts. We've got an architect and we've got an interior designer, and I hope we can shed some light in what it means to be an architect and what us as consumers, when we want to build our dream home, can expect from an architect, what we can expect from an interior designer, what we can expect from our builder. Because me as an estate agent, I've often found that we sell land to a buyer. They hope they can build this amazing home. They think they can save money by doing it themselves. They go and maybe they pick up people, friends of theirs, cousins, and they start designing a home. And by the time this whole project ends, it usually is a disaster. So in my experience, when we're selling top-end homes, it usually is a home that was designed by a well-known architect. And today we want to talk about that and what we can expect from our architect. Thank you very much.
Hi, thanks Marisa. I'm Dave from SG Studio. I'm the owner and director of the company, and our speciality is high-end luxury homes, beautiful living spaces, and that is the main core business that we do.
And I can attest to that. I've just sold one of your homes, and it is absolutely gorgeous. And there's been others.
That was a very nice project, nice clients to have.
Yeah.
And I think with the freedom that we had in that house to do the designs, we brought in some nice fine elements like the slide that you guys slide through, and that beautiful staircase that was in that house, and that lights and water feature at the entrance. It was just a fun project to do, where the clients gave us that freedom, where we can basically live our dreams out through their money, if I can call it that way. Yeah.
And very beautifully decorated, not by Beulah, but I know she gets involved in that. Tell us a bit about yourself.
Okay, so as Marisha said, my name is Beulah. Thank you for having me. What we do as interior designers is we work hand in hand with the architect. So many a times you find that clients hire only the architect to do the plan of the house. But what we focus on primarily is the flow and how the house works for the people that live in it. So the first thing that we would ask a client in a consultation is, who lives in this house? How many are you? How do you live in the house? Do you entertain? Do you not? Are you big cinema people? Are you not? And so we focus primarily on the lived aspect of the home, whereas the architects generally focus on the building itself, you see. So that's how we come and work hand in hand. Many a times I receive plans from clients that they have obviously done through their architect, and they say, please have a look at this. What can we do to make this just a little bit more livable, specifically for our family? So interior design is a profession that is highly focused on the client themselves. It can't be a one-size-fits-all. Same with architecture. We're just like on different sides of the same coin, and hence we need to work together.
Yeah, you do need the building to...
Of course.
I think from an architectural point is we have to take other aspects into considerations, like zoning, like building lines, like ground conditions, like height restrictions, fenestration, those type of guidelines, where interior designers... compliment us on it when it comes to bringing in the detail and the beauty in the houses, and then make it. And what she said about the client specific, it is, each client is different, and our motto is, we want to design your dream, but you must give us your dream so that we can apply our expertise and create this beautiful end project at the end of the day that you can be comfortable in and live in, and the spaces is comfortable, and there's no awkward spaces where you sit and you'd say, okay, so my bed is in here and there's a study table in here, so what do we do with the rest of the 20 square meters that's left of the kids' bedroom? So it's about, again, what Beulah said is, how do you live as a family? Are you big entertainers? Are you private people? Do you like having family over? How long must the family stay? We had a client that says she doesn't want any bedroom cupboards in a guest bedroom because she doesn't want the people to stay too long.
Too comfortable.
Yeah, to get too comfortable and stay too long with them for that time. So we didn't put bedroom PICs in the spare bedroom because Oma and Opa must go out after 2 or 3 days. They must live out of a suitcase. They mustn't stay too long.
So listen, let's start from first things first, okay? Because as an agent, I'll sell a piece of land. And often, because we sell a lot of very beautiful houses, people will reach out to us via our YouTube channel. They've just watched the tour and they'll say, I want this house, but I live in whatever country. Just get me in touch with the architect so they can sell me the plans. So I know it takes a lot more to build the house, and exactly what you were saying, elevations, where's the stand, is it a rocky stand, is it, tell us first of all, what do you look at? And I'm sure maybe there are cookie cutter plans that you can sell, but give us a little bit more what it takes to first conceptualize based on a stand.
Yeah, so context is a big thing that we need to take into consideration. So to say a cookie cut stand, I would say it's difficult to say there's cookie cut stands, even if in a townhouse development where the developer wants everything to be the same, each house needs to be fitted on that land. So the main thing is what is it that you require and where is the stand situated? Is it situated on a side of a mountain, or is it situated on the beach? Is the street facing the northern side? Is the street passing the stand on the southern side, west and eastern side? Because at the end of the day, the access to the stand is very important, because if your house is on the northern side, you can't drive all the way to the back and park your cars at the back because it's going to take up so much of your free space. So we prefer then, we want the garages to be as close as possible to the street so that you have easier access into your house. And so that is why we say cookie cutter and just doing plans is, we can't just sell you a plan because it's bespoke homes. Every home is a bespoke piece of art. So one client paid us a lot of money to design that specific thing. So I can't just sell that plan onto another client. And even if I just sell it, I can be that guy that should just sell it. It won't fit on your stand. So now, then it becomes more work to make that shift to actually make that house fit, and then it doesn't look anything like the plan that they originally saw on your video on YouTube.
Okay. So then let's say you've got this client, you've sold them, I've sold them the stand, you've started talking to them about the plans. What does a homeowner, future homeowner, can expect from an architect? Because again, from my experience, and I don't know myself, how far do I go? Do you get involved just giving me a piece of paper and that's it? I don't hear from you again. Or do you carry on? How often do you have to check? And I know some architects get involved in project management, others don't. Give me the options so a potential buyer and, home builder can expect.
We always say it all depends on the type of house you build, the budget, if I can say it like that. So I would say your middle type of houses, then I won't necessarily recommend that the architect continue because it's a big expense. Then we just ask that you appoint a proper builder. Okay. Because there's a lot of bucky bouwers out there that the waterproofing, all those issues comes to mind. But when you go for the high-end residential where we specialize in and where you guys sell, we would prefer to continue the whole way, because in our intro meeting we have a specific vision that we dream about, and sometimes the contractors and things talks, or they can't understand the plan because it's two-dimensional. They don't understand the elevation and things, and then they miss a step that we wanted in the elevation, or they missed a height, or something is missing, and then it's not according to the dream, and then we can't realize the dream that we had. We had a situation where the contractor made a mistake with 85 millimeters. Now, that's that much. Yeah. And it caused us so much problems because now we had to adjust our doors. The doors was already been installed. We had to make plans to accommodate for that because your steps needs to be a continuous height. So we had to make plans. We had to make a thicker screed to accommodate for that height difference. So it's really important if you don't appoint us as not project managers, contract managers, just get a proper builder so that you don't step into those things. But we like to go all the way because at the end of the day, we realize the vision. So we work then hand in hand with the kitchen designer. We work hand in hand with the interior designers. We work hand in hand with the interior decorators. We work hand in hand with the builders. So that at the end of the day, we get the product that you dream about.
So you would suggest the kitchen layout or not?
We do suggest the kitchen layout, the functionality around the kitchen. Beulah will tell you, as interior designers, we can design the kitchen, which we do in our company, but we go to the specialist to basically do the cutting list. So we will go to a kitchen company and tell them, listen, this is the picture that we want, build it for us. So they have to go and model it in their programs to work out what size the cupboards need to be, where needs the drawers needs to be. We tell them, okay, we want the stove here. They can say, okay, the fridge must be then there or the prep bowl must be there. So we give an indicative idea of where we want certain appliances in the kitchen. That just helps with the electrical plans as well. And then the kitchen people must realize that to come to life at the end of the day.
But you don't do the electrical plans and the plumbing, or do you do that as well?
Yeah, we have to do that. The reason for that is clients can come up, but our idea behind it and our motto behind an electrical plan is, I don't want you to go and plug an extension into the plug to run a fan. So we think about all those things. If I have to live in this house, how would I use this house? Okay, in my main bedroom, I'm not going to necessarily put a TV up, but I want to sell it, and the next guy might want a TV there. So I'll put a TV at 1.5. I'll put a data point at 1.5. And then we tell the contractors to do that, and we go and check if they've done it correctly. We check all the plug points. We check all the light switches. That is the correct place. Because when you walk into a bedroom, you don't want to switch on the light, go switch on your bedside table, walk back to the door, switch off the light there, and then go get back in bed. So that's all the things that we have to think about when it comes to the electrical plans. And there is clients that don't opt in for the electrical plan, and they do their own thing. I don't know how that comes out, but not my monkeys, not my circus. So we had cases where the clients just appointed a builder, and then none of the plugs is in a row. So you have different heights on your floor plugs. Or you don't have a plug behind your stove for your electrical, or you don't have a plug behind your bed for your bedside tables or your cell phone chargers. So it's really, there's a lot of thought that goes into a house than just drawing a couple of lines. I understand there's people out there that say, listen, I can get it for cheaper. By all means, then go for that, because we understand our product and we understand what goes into it, and therefore we charge the fees that we charge, because we know the work that needs to go into that.
And obviously different estates have different requirements. So if you are working in a specific estate, you take in consideration what the rules, architectural guidelines and so on are.
Definitely. Otherwise that process is going to take forever to get approved, because if you just continue off in your own mind, those guys are very strict because they are controlled and their livelihood exists off that estate. So if they go and approve stuff, they're going to get fired by the body corporate. So they are very strict when it comes to those rules. Places like Waterfalls, Serengeti, midstream estate, they are very, very strict when it comes to what you can and cannot do in there. Yes, we push the boundaries of that designs, but at the end of the day, it adds value to the estate. It's not something that's breaking the value down of the estate. And you can get a guy that's qualified in 6 months, a draftsman, take nothing away from them, but you must understand we studied 6 years. So the amount of knowledge that we gathered and that we learned, and things that we know that the draftsman won't necessarily know is gigantic. So that is why the estates also have rules in place where a certain level of qualification or certain level of registration can only draw in there. So that's also something that a client needs to think about and consider when appointing a draftsman or architect, or think what is your level of registration.
Okay. And who approves the plans? Is it you guys or?
Yeah, so local municipalities then approve the plan, then you get your building permits, then you have to submit to the NHBRC. They look at the plans, places like Serengeti Estate has very high dolomite. Then they have to see the engineer's drawings in there. You have to submit it to the HOA, the council and the NHBRC, and then only you're allowed to start to build.
Sure. Okay.
The project. So we say that process usually take about 6 months to 8 months before you can break ground. So from the day I'm appointed to the day that you can break ground and you don't have a lot of changes, it can take 6 to 8 months.
Wow. So when you hear, when people buy land and they say, I should be in, if they buy today, I should be in 4 or 5 months, it's not going to happen.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
Yeah.
I always say is people are very optimistic, especially contractors.
Yeah.
And then they come at the end of the thing and it's already 4 or 5 months later. And I feel sorry for the contractors, but they've budgeted for 12 months of construction, then it ends up at 24 months. But they're not getting paid for that last 12 months and they're still there on site, they're still working there. So it's a difficult thing if you're too optimistic about the construction process. Look, It's a fun process if you're willing to work with the people and not too fussy. Then it's really a fun process to be involved in.
Okay.
It's like creating something from nothing. I remember the first house we did is I went and I saw the land. I took pictures of the land, and a year later the house was standing there, and I was like, This feels good. This feels like something I can do for the rest of my life.
That's awesome. How long ago was that?
That was about 15 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So, and you're still loving it?
Still loving it, yeah. I'm not a big fan. I will do commercial, but I prefer the residential. It's just you meet people and you learn to know people and you see different cultures and you just see how other people live. That you understand that, we're living in such a big world that your way is not always the only way. You can think it's the right way, but you are not. The other guy's way is also the right way. And just learning from people who is big in business. We have one client that just sat with me and gave me the best business advice and things. And that's things we appreciate, and that's relationships that we build. The other client, we've built 5 houses for him, the same type of things in Waterfall. And we are friends. I know his kids, he knows my kids. So it's really about that relationship building more than the architecture. It's all about changing people's lives and making sure that you are there to assist them, that people don't take advantage of them. So that is what makes this job exciting for me.
So tell me, how do you stay different for each house? Because I've heard sometimes an accusation that, certain architects, you can recognize their houses from a mile away because they're all the same. What do you do that you can create a different house each time?
So, that's a interesting question. What we say is, at the end of the day, each client, and we create individual houses. People ask, what is your signature style? I was like, I don't have a signature style. Because we want to create a space you want to live in. I don't want to force my ideas onto you.
Okay.
So you need to send me, and that's part of our first meeting, is when we have our first meeting and I will go back and I prepare my quotation, you have homework as well. You need to get pictures that you want your house to look like. And by getting those pictures, you will see a certain trend through those pictures. Doesn't matter how many pictures you send me, but you'll see there's certain elements in that picture that a client like. For example, horizontal lines. Then you know, okay, we're going to lean towards more horizontal lines. And then you combine it with your guidelines and you push the boundaries to it. We've done a house in a golf estate where it was very traditional. I mean, you had to have roof overhangs. So it was very traditional, and the client wanted this ultra-modern house. So we went and we explored and we saw and we spoke to the architects, and we actually got it through where we got this beautifully modern, contemporary house that stands out from all the other houses in the estate and is magnificent. And it was approved because we complied in terms of the roof coverage. We complied in terms of the overhangs. But it's still, if you drive onto it, you won't see those elements, but it is there. If you look at a plan, it is there. And somebody came to us and asked, how did you get that right? Because we have worked in this estate for many years and we've never been able to get it right. So it's just taking your ideas and incorporating with the guidelines and then giving you that, with our expertise, giving you that product at the end of the day.
And then what value can you add on renovation projects? Because now, new houses, but I heard you tell me before that you do renovation projects as well. What can you do as an architect?
Renovation projects, and Beulah, you can help me now there, but that's difficult ones because my personality, and I've done it in my own house. I've bought a house built in 1972, never renovated. And I said, I'll do little renovations. At the end of the day, we broke out all the windows, all the ceilings, all the plumbing, all the kitchens, and we stripped that place down to the bone. And we rebuilt it. So what makes renovations difficult is the budget. And clients don't understand budget. And look, for me, if you tell me you have R1 million, that's good and fine. But do you know how far your R1 million can go?
We don't.
People don't know. People don't know. They want Axor taps, for example, or they want a certain designer kitchen company. And I said, but okay, you want that designer kitchen company, but your kitchen alone is going to cost that much money. No, but how can you say that? I say, that's what the things cost. Or you want this beautiful marble cladding against the wall. Right? That's 8,500 rand a square meter. Do you have budget for that? No, I don't. And so it's important to understand your budget. I've helped a friend of mine now, and we manage the budget accordingly. Yes, I knew it's going to be what it cost, but I told him less, because if I told him more, he wouldn't have done it. He would say he wouldn't have spent that amount of money. But it's important. Okay, that was not a friend. It's not a client. So it's important to understand budget when it comes to renovations and what do you want to do. How do you see your renovation? Is it breaking down all the walls, ripping out all the ceilings, changing the windows and things, or is it just painting and tiling and maybe redesigning a bathroom or something like that? So the budget needs to match the brief. That's the big thing when it comes to renovation. We can assist with renovations, but make sure you do your homework before you not before you engage me, but make sure that it will cost. So just take into consideration that maybe 100,000 rand is not gonna cut it.
And how do you get involved in the budget decisions, or do you help your clients plan the budget?
Yeah. If anything, I plan the budget myself. I draw up a budget, right?
Okay.
So in our first consultation with a client, we'll always ask them, what is your projected budget? How much are you willing to spend on the things that you want? And then they'll tell me, I want to spend R1 million. Then I'll tell you, okay, this is generally how far R1 million is going to take you in proportion or perspective with what you want to do, right? So if you want to renovate a bathroom, for example, because you believe that a bathroom is the thing that's going to bring value to your house, I'm going to let you know, for the types of finishes that you want, you're looking at about 250,000, 300,000. And then they're like, oh my gosh, I thought a bathroom is going to be like 70,000 rand. Yeah. But you put a dado bath in there and that's 25 grand, it's gone. And that's just the bathtub on its own. So the great thing about employing interior designers when you're busy with your project is that, one, we read the plans that they send to us as the architects, right? So if they have an idea as to how the kitchen should be laid out, generally I prefer that we as the designers draw the kitchens up, because then after reading the plans, we can say that this is where this plug needs to go, this is where drainage needs to run, and then we send that feedback back to the architects and they amend accordingly. Before you build the house and now you want to hustle backwards, so now you've got the house and it's standing and you've got a plug smack bang in the middle of a stove. It's not going to work, right? So hence we need to work hand in hand, like I've said already. So they'll give us the budget that they have, and then I will then break down that budget according to what they need. So how my quotations generally work is that we have a material cost and we've got the labor cost fit into that R1,000,000, right? So we'll then say that, okay, kitchen is going to cost 300,000, bathroom is going to cost 150,000, depending on size, depending on finishes. Some people want acrylic baths, some people want stone baths. Those two things are very different, which is why as the client, and we're going to use you as the client, as the client, you need to provide us with that information, because I could go shop from Cromerville, which is Design Haven, right? But it's also a little bit costly. Or I could go shop from the individual stores in the mall. Then in that way, we then save the money that we do. So I need to know where you're at ballpark-wise, and then I'll let you know that these are the estimated figures that we're working with. And then at the end of the project, then we'll let you know that, okay, we've stayed on budget or we have gone over by X amount. But generally, we try our best to stay on budget. As long as there's not too many surprises with the renovation or with the construction itself, then we should manage to stay, because we've obviously been in the industry for the last 9 years. And as such, we know how much things cost. Things that change are things like shipping fees. So when the exchange rate goes up and down, then, that fluctuates here and there, but we do make an allowance for that as well.
Okay. So that's saying that you must add 15% to whatever your budget is, because that's usually how much your project goes over.
It's actually the contract.
I was going to say, in my experience, I've done 2 renovations, and both times I wanted to slit my wrist, literally. But in both times, my expenses went well over 50% more than the budget. So that was just that my project manager didn't manage properly, or
I don't want to say that.
Or was I just being too difficult and I kept changing stuff?
With changes, Dave, with changes do push out not only the scope, which pushes out the timelines, but it also pushes up the cost. So ideally, you will make room for like 1 or 2 changes, right? Which is in your contract, you'll know that, okay, you can make maybe 3 iterations, but within a specific budget. If you then find a tile, if we specify a tile that is 150 a square, well, we won't find a tile that's 150 a square, but if we specify a tile that's 299 a square, and you walk into the store and you like the one that's 750 a square, you must be aware that already you're well over 100%, right? In terms of doubling that budget for the tile, then your costs are going to go up astronomically. So it's very important for us as designers and project managers as well to manage that expectation. Say that, but your budget doesn't allow you to go for that thing that you're now looking at, unless you're willing to pop out the extra cash.
And something that you need to be cautious about is, yes, a door handle can be 200 Rand more, but you have 10 door handles. Now, okay, so that's fine. It's 2,000 Rand. Doesn't going to break the bank. But now your tiles is 100 Rand more and it's 100 square. So that's 10,000 Rand. So it adds up if you start choosing that things. What we also experience is that when the plans go out to tender and we don't put in the provisional sums, the guys just put it in to get a jobs. So they underquote, and then you appoint them, and then at the end of the day, you have to start paying in on the things, and you're just like, but why is it so much? Why didn't you guys tell me about it? So it's important to look through the quotation on what is your allowances made for the project, that you don't overrun the budget, and make sure if you make changes, you understand what impact it will have at the end of the day on your project.
I see this a lot, actually. We had a very recent example where land was sold, the architect was appointed, and then they started hunting for the builder, and they kept pushing the per square meter, and eventually that's what they did, is they hired friends and family, I don't know who, but not actual builders, because the builders all said we can't. And it was quite interesting what turned out, when the house was finished.
people phone me. So what's building cost per square meter?
Yeah.
I was like, what are you building? No, a house. Said, okay. So there's so many factors. I mean, how much steel is in there? Is your aluminium floor to ceiling aluminium? Do you have air conditioning in there? Do you have home automation in there? So how long is a piece of string? And so we generalize and say, okay, 12 to 15,000 rand a square meter, but depending on the plans. But
12 to 50?
15.
Ah.
1.5, yeah. And that's just Gauteng. Cape Town, you can't build for that.
Is it more? Cape
Much
Town?
more. Yeah, it's like double this.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
The labor rates is higher in Cape Town, and the materials tends to be more expensive. And the timelines, the people take longer to finish the projects.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
Cape
just
Town
my-
people are very
my-
chilled, hey? Cape Town people are very chilled.
Very chilled, yeah.
But I mean, chilled is one thing, but I mean that cost is quite a jump. I have heard of builders actually sending their teams from Gauteng to Cape Town just to get it done faster and better, apparently. But I don't know.
But
Cape Town.
the states don't like it. They want to use the communities people. They want to use the people in the areas and things
Okay.
to actually do the work.
Okay. Tell me, why do you go to Italy? You told me before that you go and look at what the trends are. What does Italy have to offer?
Nice food. Nice food and lekker wine. Yeah, so we've gone to Italy, especially for the ceramics. The tiles in there is just. Before I went, I was the skeptic saying South African or Chinese tiles is exactly the same, but it's just about the quality and the innovation behind the tile making process that really makes it stand out for me. Yes, you do pay a premium product, but at the end of the day, you have less breakages here, you have better quality tiles, your tiles is all the same size, and it's just a variety of options that is available there. And then obviously when you go to Milan, just in terms of the finishes, like taps and when you go to light fittings and light sockets and furniture, for example, it is just, I don't know how to say it, it just blew my mind the first time I went there. And so, yeah, we try to take the clients, if they do sign up with us, for an experience like that as well, just so that I always say I need to justify why I want to sell you a thing that is 100,000 if I can buy one for 10,000 rand. And it's all about experience. I think we have moved away. Everything is good quality. Even the stuff that's coming from China these days are good quality. I mean, in my house, I've put in porcelain slabs on my kitchen top that came from China. Why? Because it was cheaper and I didn't have the budget that my clients necessarily have. But it's about the experience. If you go there, then I can show you why I say you need to pay 100,000 rand for a tap. It's about that feeling you get when you touch the thing and when you see the showroom, you see how it's made. It is all about that, and it forms part of the living experience at your house, that you really have a pleasant experience. You feel like you're in a wellness space when you walk into your bathroom and you see the tap with the jets and the spa bathroom and things. So that is why we go to Italy, to see the trends, to see what is new, to see what is available out there, so that we can broaden our horizons and really bring that extra value and that extra experience, life experience for the clients to the table, and also put them ahead than what is happening in South Africa.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, that would be for your top-end luxury clients.
Yeah.
But I mean, do you see, Beulah, with your luxury clients, do you see them wanting to spend 10 times more for a tap, or do they still fight you for pricing?
People that are rich stay rich because they hold on to their money. For those of us that can't go to Milan and can't go to Italy, we go to Decorex and to Design Joburg. That's when you'll be able to see what's on the market, what's on offer, what's coming, because we also have talks, futuristic talks as to what do we project for the near future. So we do still share with them what's out there. But I would say that people actually really like to stick within their budget, and they get very impressed when we stick to budget and we also meet the timelines, because that's something it's a very sore point when it comes to construction. Hey, meeting timelines.
To add to you on that one, and that's why we always say to the client, listen, if you want to appoint us with the interior design, or appoint an interior designer, let's do all the planning before
Beforehand.
we start the project. While we are busy getting the plans approved, while we are busy getting that, because now we know, okay, if we appoint a contractor, we need the taps to be here in 8 months' time. Then I have enough time to fly that thing in from Italy. I have enough time to go and shop for that thing in China. I have enough time to take it to Spain to go and look at kitchens. So it's really about planning, proper planning. And I tend to disagree, because clients look at budgets, but they don't know what's out there. And the rich clients, or the clients with money, they like nice things as well. If you look at the cars people are driving, people like nice things. So if you can convince, and I don't say every bathroom, I'm saying the main bathroom, which is their space, put in something nice, put in something there that you will enjoy. If you are budget cautious, sure thing, then you tell me. Then we find something similar, sorry, my English, as nice as the one that we've put in, but at a fraction of the cost. But if you can go for that thing that is nice, it's really worth it to spend that money. And that's what I'm saying. I need to be able to justify why I'm telling you you are going to spend that. Look, I'm saving up like crazy because I want that taps in my house, because it's so nice. It's not something I don't want in my house, but your client needs to know what is out there and give them opportunity to make the choice if they want to break the budget a bit.
I think it's also important to then put out there that we serve different markets.
Yeah.
So whereas you serve like the high-end residential, I'm then serving the upper working class residential.
Yeah.
And as such, we then have different...
Of course.
Our string chat again, the string is not as long on the one side as it is on the other side.
Yeah.
And so whereas you might have that little bit of more flexibility for one, to book a trip to overseas to go and do that, I don't have that flexibility because that is not the market that I am servicing. You understand? So when I stick to my budget, they become very happy. But also mind you that this has been done with the planning in hand. So from the first consultation, first step, when we do go shopping, when you look at things, my last project, the kitchen was about 300,000 Rand, right? And that's without the appliances. The appliances came in at another 200 or so. They went to look at a kitchen that was 3 million Rand.
Yeah.
And then it's like, how do we take this kitchen that's 3 million Rand and build it at 300,000 Rand, and we're able to achieve those certain things that they saw there that they liked. They're like, okay, we see that there is like soft closing hinges, for example. But instead of buying soft closing hinges at the orange shop, we buy soft closing hinges at the green shop because there's a big price difference, you understand? Yeah. So they might have a lifetime warranty, but they have a 10-year warranty on the other hand. And you understand that in 10 years' time, these clients won't actually be in the house anymore in any case, right? So if the new clients then want to change up the look and feel of the house, they can do so freely. It's, I think, different.
I think it also goes as far, especially with those type of things, is how cautious, brand cautious are your client?
Big one.
Is your client very brand cautious? Does he want to show his friends and family, listen, I have this type of kitchen, or I have this showers, or I have this type of taps in my house, or even a toilet. A simple thing as a toilet can become silly expensive. Yeah. So it's just, like you said, it's all about depending on your client, where you work with your budget and things. We are fortunate to have that type of clients that can spend a little bit more than the original provisional amount, but we also learn. I think I've never done a project and said I haven't learned anything from this project, or I haven't learned something new, or how to deal with a contractor, or how to deal. So it's all about innovating and finding yourself and teaching yourself new things and using those stuff that you were taught in your projects. And I think that is what I like to do, and what especially my company likes to do is to try new things, to push the limits, to push the boundaries. And like you said, our clients are different, but we are fortunate to have those clients that where you can push that boundary very, very far.
It's just when it comes to reselling, just from my side, it's so difficult. You've built that very, let's say, expensive Italian, Spanish, mix house. When we're trying to sell it, people don't see it. They see a tap. And I can definitely feel the difference between the melamine kitchen cupboard and the, velvety, super matte, cupboard. But often we battle with that. And it's also, I think, important maybe for the client to understand that you're building this for your personal pleasure, exactly what you said. It gives you joy every time you turn the tap on. It gives you joy to get into that bath. So please don't expect that you will necessarily cover your cost, because the next buyer might not be someone that spends much time in the bath, and they might say, oh, that bath must go, I'm a shower person, and then there goes. And I think when it comes to luxury properties, this is, from an estate agent point of view, I've sometimes found it a challenge where the owner needs to understand they enjoyed it for the 5 years, 10 years, with those very expensive finishes, because this is what they wanted for their personal joy. And the next buyer might not feel that way, so they need to still then sell it for the prices that are the going rate in the area, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. You do get clients that build for spec and want to sell, and you deal with them appropriately.
Yeah.
But the best thing, what one client told me, and I was like, why you're going to sell this place? Why do you want to spend so much money on he wanted a stone with the light behind the stone. I said, why do you want to spend so much money on this unit? I think it was like 300,000. You're going to sell it in 2 months' time. He said, Dave, sometimes you just got to do something nice for yourself. Okay. So I think that is the approach of many of those clients, is just to do something nice. They're not necessarily bothered about making money out of their investment, but rather than enjoying it, finding that piece of heaven on earth at home, so they don't have to travel to a 5-star luxury lodge in Maldives to go and experience this piece. When they come home, they know, you know what, this house is like a 5-star hotel. This house is everything I could ever wanted. I don't have to go on holiday to escape my house. I go on holiday to experience other things. I come home to escape life. And I think many of the clients appreciate that approach, but obviously we need to take that. And if somebody tells me they don't have a budget, then I tell them, sorry, I'm not interested for you, because everybody has a certain point to where they want to spend. They don't want to overcapitalize, and especially in South Africa at the moment, they don't want to overcapitalize that they won't be able to sell their house at the end of the day.
So just to concur with what you're saying, Marisha, right? There's a seller, now I'm putting on my agent hat. There's a seller I approached recently who's in a lovely golf estate. And all of the houses that look onto the fairway are obviously more expensive than the ones inside the estate itself. But let's say the going rate is about 5.5 million, 6 million rand. And this person is selling for 9.5 million rand. Now that's 4 million over the going rate, even including the ones that have registered in the last year, right? So, which sold at 4.7, 5.3. And so I speak to the seller and I say, Mr. Seller, do you know why your house is not moving at the moment? And they say, no, people say that the price is a little bit too high and this and that. But I was like, yeah, but it's 4 million rand higher. You understand? But it's like, I've put so much money into this house. I've bought the Spanish tiles and the Italian taps and. I was like, that's great and all, but when a buyer walks into that house, they just see another tile. They don't know that this tile is 13 millimeters thick as opposed to the 10 millimeters thick one that you're going to find at a store in Johannesburg. What they see is like a consistent look with everything else. And so it is a very real thing that they overcapitalize initially. And I think it's important to manage that, even from a project manager's perspective on my side, to say that when you're installing this thing that comes from wherever it may come from, please know that this is for your pleasure. Like you said, this is for your joy. And don't necessarily expect a big return on it unless you bought under. Now, that's a different conversation. If you bought under market value, by all means, put the money into it that you want, then you'll enjoy it and possibly make a return after a certain amount. But yeah, it is a very real conversation that needs to be had with the clients.
I recently was showing a house which is an unfinished project. So massive property, equestrian estate, 3,000 square meter house. They've built the basement. They've built it. It's an incredibly expensive structure because of the steel that goes into it. The basement for like 20 cars and so on. And on a 3,000 square meter, but it's only up to brick level. Okay, so there's no plaster. There's no finish, no glass, nothing. And on a 3,000 square meter house, mind you, and the seller said, well, if you guys don't sell it right now to someone that's going to finish it, I will finish it as cheaply as possible and just move in. And I said, but you can't finish it cheaply because then you will never sell it. You know, you're already battling to sell it because you're trying to sell it unfinished. You have to finish it in line with where it is. You know, you can't finish cheaply in an expensive place. Just like you said, you can't finish expensive in a very cheap place. You know, on the other hand, we're dealing with a house in another estate where the average selling price is 3 million and they're trying to sell theirs for 30. That's not even 4 million more. It is 27 million more than the going rate. Then you know, don't be surprised that you can't sell it. Or, you know, so I think maybe where would the advice come from? Would it be the architect? Would it be the designer? At what point do you guys say to your client, in line with this estate, you should be within these parameters?
With my clients, it would come from me. So like I said, I set the budget from the get-go. And so if you're willing to renovate for 500,000 and you're in Midrand, for example, I'll let you know that it's a little bit high, depending on which part of Midrand you're in, obviously, because now we've got different aspects to it. But if you want to renovate for 500,000 and you're in Sandton and you're planning to stay there for the next 3-5 years, I say, hey, by all means, go for it. But yeah, we do need to look at area, the houses in the area itself, the street, and what the possible appreciation would be in that place.
Okay, and you?
Because we are mainly on high end of new build, let me call it that, new build. We give the budget up front. And we have a case in an estate in Pretoria where we spent 20 million, but again, the client wanted to spend that 20 million. He wasn't aware that it's going to be 20 million beforehand. He was told. So for me, I don't want to feel like too pushy with the clients to tell them and guide them off the project. I mean, it's their money at the end of the day. If they want to spend it, they could spend it. We always make a mention of the surrounding areas and what you can expect in the hills or Waykloof or Silver Lakes or Waterfall Estate of Steyn City, whatever the estate might be. But if the client decide to, at the end of the day, to build a new house of 20 million, he knows what he's in for. And if you look, everything is newly built around them. So it's all new houses. So all of the new houses have more or less the same price. And then we start working from there to say, okay, listen, let's rather put in a less expensive South African tile because it's only the backdrop. And then we start working, and we spend the money where we think it is seen. Places like your guest WC or places like your kitchen. That is places where you want to spend money because people are seeing it. So you don't want to have a kitchen where the cupboard doors falls off after 3 years because you went and bought your kitchen at Builders Warehouse. So you understand, and you got a guy from the street to install it. You want to have a proper place because you're spending a lot of money on that house and you want to enjoy that place and where people come back and sort out, because there's always snacks in a house. Even a year or two after that, we had cases where something happens and we go back and we sort it out. So it really depends on client to client and what are they willing to spend. So that is a very important thing, is to tell us the budget up front. We don't have to discuss it with the builder, but we know, okay, you know what, we're going to design everything in oak veneer, and then you don't have money for a 200,000 rand TV unit. So we need to know what's your budget up front so that we can make the planning. When we push out the allowances from our side, we know, okay, we're going to spend money on the shop fitting in the house. We're going to do nice Duco spray and maybe a wallpaper or something, but we're not going to spend money on expensive 1,000 rand a square meter tiles. We're going to rather put a 299 tile in, and it's just a backdrop, and it's functional, and it just adds value to the house, and then we spend the money on the other places. So it's about balancing the budget at the end of the day, but it's important to understand what things cost at a moment.
And I think that's where, as a professional in the field, that's where your expertise must come in, and you must advise the client accordingly, right? So like what you're saying, that you don't spend the money in all the places so that the renovation or the build is extravagantly expensive. So for example, like with the 300,000 kitchen that I was speaking of, right? The stone alone was about between 50 and 70,000 for the countertop. And it's not a lot of countertop space. It's about 2-3 meters, and then we've got the backsplash as well. So that's where we spent a bulk of the money, right? Because when a buyer comes into the house, now back into the reselling part of things, when a buyer comes into the house, they will most definitely notice the stone, but they won't tell you that this board comes from South Africa as opposed to the one that comes from Spain. You understand? Spending on the board is a choice of yours, and that's basically the thing. So we need to then advise the clients to say that this is what is worth spending money on, and then they can take it from there, as it is, like you said, it's their money.
But don't you think the boards and the installation of kitchens and stuff is supposed to come from the supplier?
What do you mean?
Choosing a melamine board over a Niemann board or one of those boards, don't the supplier, your kitchen supplier, needs to tell you, listen, or you tell them this is my budget, and then they say, okay, we're going to use this board. Because I don't care about the board. For me, it's the stone that needs to be put in. The hinges is an important thing, and then the detail when it comes to the handle. How do you open that cupboard? How is that handle finished off? And so for me, it's about the detail and how do you achieve the detail and the correct material for the detail. So whatever board you're supposed to use, if it's melamine, if it's plywood, if it's superwood, whatever you want to use, you can use. But this is the effect I want to achieve at the end of the day, and this is my budget I want to come in. Rather than me as the designer or the the project manager need to guide a guy to what, or let me continue with that, is because when I start telling suppliers how to do their job, it sometimes comes back to me to say, but they've said I must do it this way. I must use this product. So, for example, if you say we must save money by using this board, if the door falls off, the supplier is going to say, but listen, Beulah said we must use this board. That is why the door is coming off. Haven't you experienced that problem in the past?
So in my company specifically, and I think many design houses, right, which is where now the distinction between architects and designers comes in, we specify the material that we use, right? And so I'm not going to go get some cheap shot hinge that's going to make the board fall off. A board is a board is a board, right? How water resistant that board is, how durable it is, etc., is where the differences come in the board. But for the effect, for the finished look, a board is a board is a board, right? And so when I specify materials, when you give me a budget as a client, I allocate it accordingly to say that we'll spend 5 rand on the hinge and 10 rand on the board and 15 rand on the spring, for example, right? So when I specify, I know that what I'm specifying as an expert in that field will be the thing that is long lasting. I'm obviously not going to specify something that's going to now come back to bite me, because they will say that, no, it's the designer, she spec'd this, and they'll definitely come to you. So you must know what you're working with. We only work with specific suppliers as well. But if you want to go choose your own supplier to install the thing that I spec'd, you're more than welcome, but you can't come back to me and then say that, but this thing wasn't installed correctly. I specified a specific material and a specific supplier for you in order for this thing to be achieved in the way that we want as designer and as client. So you see, it's just that advising and the management.
And you know what,
of
I
the
can tell you guys
expectations.
from a consumer, because we're now stuck on the kitchen, okay? And I've recently done a kitchen, and I totally want to be told what board to use, because I have no clue what board to use. And in fact, I never knew that there are different boards depending on, is it a high damp area, you know, is it your scullery, is it your kitchen, is it, you know, the thickness of the door, are you a heavy user? You know, we entertain a lot, my kids slam doors, you know, leave doors open, whatever. I actually I don't know what I don't know. As a user, I want someone to tell me what's good for me. And if I then go ahead and choose the cheap version, then sure, that person can say, I told you. So, but I want them to give me the options. So from that point of view, I think if you're going to be paying a designer, they better be pushing back on you when you're being silly because you're a consumer that doesn't actually know. And I've seen so many times when the consumer is pushing the boundary and trying to save money. And we've had houses that we couldn't sell because the staircase was literally, I mean, we've had houses where the staircase was so narrow, I wear size 6 shoe, my foot didn't fill completely the staircase. So every time you're going up and down, you feel you're going to topple over. And you know that this guy built the staircase on the cheap. I don't know what arm they twisted to convince them to do something like that, because surely there has to be laws against it. And this house was unsellable because every single buyer that came, they will go up okay because you can kind of go on your tippy toes, but as you start coming down, you feel you know this is a death wish situation. So yeah, I think maybe a bit of a balance, eh?
Yeah, I think, and I agree. So from our perspective, it's a nice take on it, and I've never thought about it that way, and I appreciate that, and I'm going to take it home with me today and see how we can implement it. But if you do a whole house from scratch, think about how many things you need to think about. I mean, there's your light switches, there's your light fittings. How many light fittings is there? How many taps is there? Your vanities, your basins, your toilets. That's all a lot of things to think about. So I'm definitely going to take that into consideration and really start doing my research around that to see, listen, maybe we should implement this. My feeling is just the suppliers we work with, they have certain standards so that we don't have problems and we don't have things. So in a scullery, for example, where it's high wet area, we use a certain type of wrap board. Let's call it a wrap board. In the kitchen, you can use an oak veneer, or it all depends on the design at the end of the day, but you can use a Duco spray. We don't like necessarily using just a normal board with some edging on it. It's all high traffic, high impact type of things that we install, durable type of things. We use a specific runner only so that your drawers is not flimsy. Doesn't wobble. So our approach to the design process is that we only use a top end type of material. But we've never really said why. Why do we use that type of board? Why do we use that type of hinge? And explain it to the client, explain it to the consumer. Listen, there is other boards available, but we prefer not to use that. Obviously, then it makes the discussion open and the changes come in and the choices and things. But yeah, we haven't thought about doing it, looking at it that direction.
So speaking to the fact that you say that there's so many things to think about, I think a lot of clients or homeowners do not think about that, just how many things there are one, you have to look at the lighting. Two, you have to look at the plumbing. And so when we finally have the dishwasher that you bought from a specific company and the outlet is on the left-hand side instead of the right-hand side and now it doesn't match up with the plumbing, that's a problem. And whose problem does it become? It becomes the project manager's problem. So I think that's why it's important when you've hired an architect, also hire a dedicated project manager, because it's up to them to then look at those things. A lot of architectural firms now have a dedicated design wing or an in-house design part of them. So I think if they do have that, then by all means go with just them. But in many, many instances, it is very important that you have the architect doing the drawing of the plans, finishes, etc. Bring in the designer in order to look at the livability. Like once we build a kitchen, we must know that if we've got oven, microwave, and a warmer drawer as well, we must have 3 dedicated plugs for that thing. But if you just hire the architect who doesn't know that at the end of the day, we're buying the appliances from brand X, and therefore we need 1, 2, 3, they are going to supply one plug point in that specific area.
So our approach is we don't do, as an architectural firm, we don't do electrical plans. The interior side of the company does the electrical because it complements the design. There's so many things. I mean, it's a wall light points for your cabinetry. It's behind your shop fitting units where the wall lights need to come in. That specific thing that you are saying, where is your electrical plug points for your stove? Where is it coming for your kitchen? A simple thing, which I never had in my house, is a tap point for your fridge. And I mean, as an architect, you design the space. You don't design the interior space, how that space is going to be used on a daily basis. Yes, you can say, okay, maybe I want a fridge here, but you're not too concerned about it. You're more concerned about the structural elements behind it. And that's why we moved it away from the architecture side into the interior department in my company, so that those ladies that's there, they know what to think about. And then the other thing you said is a dedicated project manager. Project management is an interesting term in my company because a lot of clients think I need to go and buy the bricks. So we've changed it to say we're contract managers rather than you still have a project manager that needs to buy all the things, needs to manage the suppliers, but we go and check that the plugs and everything is in place according to the drawings. So that we don't have that where they forgot to put in the plug points for the stove or a light point for the cabinetry. We have done a kitchen now where the kitchen has this beautiful lights inside, but there's no plug point for it, no point for the lights to come in. Now he just cuts in and runs it from the plug. Now it's okay, that's cool. You have power in the cupboard now, but where do you switch it on and off? Oh, I didn't think about that. So it's really there's a lot of things to think about. Is where do you switch the stuff on? Simple things, skirtings. So many people forget about skirtings. Why do we need skirtings? It's just a finishing off item. It's just making the wall and a tile meet nicer.
So something to add to what you're saying, where you've got a light and it's a pretty light, but now there's no plug point or there's no supply for that light. What I need to just put out there also is that with changes, once you've put up the structure, when you make changes, you must know that now it might impact the finished look of the space. So I had a similar incident recently where the client wanted to add LED strips in the kitchen. Now we've made a supply for 1 LED strip, but they wanted to add a few more because they liked how this thing looked and they want to add, now it's the thing that must be the running theme. But now there was no way to conceal this because the units were already built. So now it affects the finished look of it overall. So it's something to think about. When clients do want to make changes, they must know that it's pushing out timelines, it's pushing out budget, but it's also changing the vision a little bit. And that dream that we essentially set out, ideally you want it to be like the final thing, but it's never the final thing, and we try and work around it.
Yeah, and also everybody says, it can be surface mounted. And I was at the supplier yesterday, and I said, but why don't you put the diffuser on this light? And it was a kitchen supplier. And she said, do you know how many people come in here and say, well, but we don't need the channel, we can just stick it on. I haven't thought about it. She said, we've done this kitchen in this way so that we can show the clients that, listen, you don't just want to stick the stuff up. So you put it in. So it's about planning. And where does your transformers go? All those LED strips need transformers. So where do you put that? And you only have a certain distance that
it can carry.
That it can carry. So you can't put it in a one room and let it run to the other room, because you only have like 20 meters or 25 meters on that transformer. So it's really planning, and changes is no. It's really, I hate changes. It's the worst thing ever, and it always makes a bigger mess than the original fault that was actually there.
Really?
Yeah. You go and change the ceiling, then a wall is damaged, and then you damage the cupboard, or you damage the tiles, or the painter comes in. It's just like the people don't respect the other people's trades.
Yeah.
So the painter might spill the paint on, and then he comes with thinners, and he starts wiping off the window frames, and then the color goes off the window frames. So by making changes, it's really not a clever idea.
Okay.
We allow it, but it's not a fun thing to do.
So you see, with you guys, initially with the architectural side of things, changes obviously become a very big thing. But once you start doing finishes, like we do, you will notice that there's always going to be changes, and hence I said we work around them. We also don't really like them, but you do what you can, because you're obviously working with people, and people will go onto Pinterest and see something new tomorrow, and then they're like, but can we add this thing because it looks pretty, and whatever the case. Then you tell them the implications. But the good thing also about what we do, as a company specifically, is that we offer an in-house service. So painting, carpentry, ceilings, tiling, etc., plumbing, all of it is in-house. We avoid that problem of you bring in carpenter A from whichever company and they want to put their cupboards in, but then they scratch the walls. Now who must come and fix the walls? Now you must call in a different supplier to come and do the other things. So we work together as a unit, and so if you have a problem with the lighting, you'll call me. If you have a problem with the plumbing, you'll call me. It also takes the stress off of the clients, because as a homeowner, building takes so much from somebody. Renovations take a lot, even when you have a dedicated designer / project manager. So you want to make sure that you streamline everything as much as possible. What you were saying about when you need to get the taps in. If you have a project manager, they know that I need to book the plumber for week number 6 because the taps are going to come in week number 8. And then I need to make sure that plumber is back to do finishes in week number 10 or whatever the case is. So I think that's why it's really important that you hire one side, you hire the other side as well, because you do need that help. It becomes overwhelming.
And that's also why we say in our companies, we don't do project management. We appoint a contractor. Our scope is a bit bigger, so we appoint a company that is a contractor that do that management. So we phone one guy. And we've tried it all ways. We've tried it all different directions where the client buys the material and the builder supply the labor. That doesn't work. We've tried it a way where the client only build a superstructure, but now the question comes in, where does his scope ends and where does the next guy's scope start? We tried it where the owner was the project manager. So our recommendation is just to get a proper contractor from the get-go and get a proper design company or design house to help you with those designs. And then it will be painless at the end of the day. You will have the fun experience of what construction can be and creating something from nothing that is out there.
So what happens if you give the plans and the contractor does something different? So, they made the bedroom 1 meter narrower, wider, whatever.
So, in actual fact, they have to break it down and correct it. But we look at the implication and see if it's allowable within the HOA guidelines. Then we have to do as-built drawings. We have to submit it to the homeowners. They have to approve it. And then it have to go back to council. And for that time, the building process needs to stop. So you can lose another 2 or 3 months if you do something silly like that.
And have you had experiences with contractors where you find?
Many. We have places where they went over the double-story building line, and And the house was completed because we weren't involved in the contract management thing. And then we had to sort out a problem. And now the clients are getting angry at me because they're not getting answered. I'm like, but
Of course it's you.
but it's not my mistake. I'm trying to help you out here. I said, if there's changes, phone me and we can discuss it and then we can do it. Don't just go, because again, it's about that vision. And a builder, let's call them, not contract builders, they sometimes come, but you have all this space and it's wasted space. You have that wasted space because that's within the guidelines. You can't just push walls out. That specific estate had that 1 meter step back, which you had to have on the first floor. So now he pushed this bedroom's wall out to the side, and now I'm sitting with the baked potatoes because the roof is on, the walls has been finished, the lights is in, the tiles has been done.
Wow.
And we had to go very, very far away. We turned at the town planning department of City of Tshwane to get that relaxed at the end of the day.
And did they?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
But it was a nightmare.
Not
and
fun,
it's unnecessary cost because we at points like that we charge per hour, and we're not cheap per hour. When it comes to an hourly rate, it becomes expensive for the client. So we advise them to say, before you do something, speak to us. And we push that we are appointed as contract managers so that we can check out the work.
So that's a second tier. So in other words, if I'm contracting your services, what levels can I expect from an architect? So level 1 is you give me plans and you step away?
Yeah, we'll do 4 inspections, one of the foundations, because people don't read the heights on the plans. So we'll check that the foundations, before you cast a surface bed, check that the foundations is at a correct height. The second one is after the first floor slab is done, to check that your walls is right, the heights is right. And the third one is when the roof is on. So then we go and we check, okay, you have built according to plan, all elevations and everything is according to plan. And then the final one is when everything is done on the house. So just before you moved in, we come in, we do a final inspection, check that your glazing has been done according to the specification, check that your insulation is in your roof, check that you have alternative heating on the house, check your light fittings out, those things, and also see that, okay, you've complied to the plan. Then we sign a form to say this is within what we've designed, and we give the occupation. So that's the first service that we do offer. However, we do not advise that one because it takes away, people are influenceable. So, and you have to go to CTM and stand in front of all those tiles and see, you don't know how to make a choice. The second one is where we do the architecture and the contract management. So then we basically go out and we inspect a project every second week. We speak to the contractor. If there's a mistake, we liaise with them. If there's changes, if there's details they need, we issue that. We also issue a bill of quantities in that one, so that if you go out onto tender, you have 3 different companies that can tender on the same thing, so that we can compare apples with apples. And we manage the contract accordingly. If there's a payment comes in, we check that payment, we issue the payment certificate. The client makes the payment, so we don't really deal with suppliers. Then we also do the interior design, where we do all your hard finishes. So that's your tiles, your taps, your shop fitting, your kitchen, your ceiling designs, your lighting designs, all those items, and that will run hand in hand. And then the last one we also offer is procurement. So you will never have to walk into any shop. We get all the samples, you come to my office and you look at what we've chosen. If you don't like it, you tell me, I'll get you 3 more. The reason why we're doing that is if you walk into a place like Ital Tile, or you walk into a place like Africano, or whatever a place might be where there's numerous things on display, you get overwhelmed. And I've seen it with my own mother, is she walks into that shop, ooh, this is beautiful, ooh, this is beautiful. And by the end of the day, she couldn't make up her mind because everything is beautiful, but nothing fits together. People don't know how to bring the picture together. And that is why we say, okay, we spend a lot of time on mood boards. We spend a lot of time on designing the things. So let's bring this whole picture together with the specific materials that you do in. The only people we go and visit in their showroom is the shop fitting people. Not the shop fitting people, the kitchen people. So that the client can see and understand we don't have enough space in our office for all the different kitchens and mechanisms and stuff that's out there. So we go to their showrooms to see, okay, this is what you can expect when we're talking about a kitchen. And, yeah.
Okay. And you, what layers of service can one expect from your? So you also do the project management.
Yes.
As well,
yes.
But in terms of interior.
So from a design perspective, our first tier, even though we don't tier it as such, but first point of contact would be that you bring us in. You say that this is what I'd like to do. This is how much I have, and this is how much time I have to do this carry out this project. And then we will cost it for you, or we will draw up the plans. So initially we have a consultation. You let us know what you'd like. You give me your dream. I put it on a picture. So we do 3D renders. Then we'll come back and submit those renders to you, and you'll say, yeah, but I'd like to change 1 to 3. We change 1 to 3, and then you have the option of walking away and going to pick your own suppliers, and those suppliers can now take this project, take this vision and bring it to life for you. Again, like Dave said, I also don't recommend that you go out and take this vision and put it in somebody else's hands. I prefer to take the vision myself and bring it to life. So then that would be the second part, where we draw up the thing and we then cost it for you, let you know that this vision is going to cost you 500,000, and we then take it from that point on. Once you approve the budget, we then go into procurement immediately. We procure the stuff and we set the timelines accordingly based on the timeline that you have as well available, and then we fit everything that we need to fit, and we hand over the home at the end of the day. We run through a checklist, make sure that everything is fine. You approve it, and then from then onwards, we give you 7 days to live in the house where you can snag the property. So you do find that with a lot of things, there are snags here and there. So some things we do pick up beforehand and we correct it, then hand over the house. But some things you can only pick up as you're living in the house. So once you start having the lights on all evening, then you realize, there's a bulb that flickers. That's not something that we would have picked up during the project, while the project is going on. Then you will snag those things, send us a list, and then we'll come in after the week, fix those things. And then after 3 months, we'll come and do an inspection. Hi, Mr. Person, is everything still okay? And you let us know everything is still okay. You'll let us know that, no, actually, the water takes a little bit long to run in from the geyser. What can we do about this? Then we sit down and try and find a solution to those things. But we don't just leave you hanging. I, for one, love to build relationships with people. A lot of my clients end up becoming friends and almost like family, so we walk the journey together. For a limited time, my team and I become a part of your family. That's really how it works, because we're in your house so much. We're there with your children and, the nannies, and we build relationships like that. So even when you have a problem, it's easy. Just pick up the phone, give a call, and then take it from there. Another thing that I've seen with a lot of clients or homeowners or buyers, is that they don't know who the right people are to contract for certain things. You don't know that the best kitchen contractor is the one that's at 15 Apple Road instead of the one that's at number 10. And so that's my responsibility. I put that on myself to say that I will guide you. I will let you know that if you want such a finish for X amount, this is who you go to. If you want this and that, this is who you go to. And so it's best to just walk hand in hand together and become one big happy family. That's what we hope for always.
That can also be abused, I guess. The 10 p.m. calls.
No, we don't take 10 p.m. calls. No. There's always there's a line, right? For one, there's a WhatsApp business line or a business WhatsApp line that has certain working hours. It's not on all day, all night. So you can send your message through. If it's at night, unfortunately, you will get answered in the morning. But you'll still get that answer. We would try to help where we can.
Okay. And how do you guys make your money? You can both tell me. So as a consumer, am I paying for one price? And if I make changes, you charge me per hour, or what? How do you work?
Okay, so for me, we charge on a 75%, 25% per quotation basis. And I tell my clients this upfront all the time, that if you've budgeted 100,000 for a bathroom, know that 25% of that is going towards labor and project management. Different people, different companies have different pricings, but you must know that my 100,000 is going to serve me this far, right? So 75% goes towards the materials that we're going to procure. And then the 25% goes towards the team itself. I charge a project management fee within that 25% that specifically is just for me, and then there's profit for the business, and then there is the money that goes towards the laborers or towards the team itself. So that's how I charge. It makes it very transparent, very clear from the onset. If we are procuring material for you, if we're procuring furniture, curtains, anything that we might be buying, then we know that there is a markup of between 15 and 30%, depending on how much this thing is. It's on a sliding scale for us. So the more expensive something becomes, then the lesser the
Percentage.
Yes, the lesser the markup.
Okay.
But it's all very clear and very transparent from the get-go, so that there's no surprises, because where money is involved. Yeah. And with changes, if you want changes to the design itself, with us, you can make 2 iterations, so you get 3 options in essence. We take your vision, like I said, and we put it in a drawing, and that's the thing that you approve. But if you want to change this and that, you get at least 2 chances to change it, so that it's not rigid like that. You see,
but not changes if you've already built something. Then there
then there will be a cost implication to it.
Sure.
Absolutely.
Okay. And the architects?
So our governing
We
body,
know you hate it.
our governing
Changes?
body said that we need to charge project based, but it becomes too expensive for the amount of work we do. So we charge based on a rate per square meter that we find cover our expenses in terms of labor, rent, all those things. There's a profit in there. So we charge a rate per square meter. On the interior side, again, we go and we
That's for the plans. Sorry, just to
for the
interrupt.
architectural side,
Okay.
the plans and the things. On the interior side, we go and we look at what you want to be designed. So if it's a main bedroom, we charge a fee. The bathroom, we charge a fee. So we itemize each room and we put a value to each of those spaces, and based on the amount of hours we think we will spend on that design. Then when it comes to contract management, it's a monthly fee. So if you don't have money to pay Mr. Y for the paint work, we still charge you that payment, or we still charge you that money for a monthly contract management fee, because we still spend time on it and we still do that. So that's based on a monthly fee. And then on the procurement, we get a lot of trade discounts. So we pass that trade discount on to the client, and then we ask a 10% fee of every invoice that we pay. So we say, okay, kitchen is R1 million. We charge a 10% of that R1 million on that. So we show the invoice that we've paid, and we just put another 10% on top of that.
Okay. And who gets involved with landscaping? None of you.
I'm venturing into that, actually. That's
Okay.
something that, because you get a lot of clients, you're like, okay, now we've done the inside of my house, now we're done. Can we go outside? I'm like, I don't quite have the expertise for it. So it's something that I am exploring as we go. But generally at architecture stage, you would have contacts that you have, and then they would help you with the
But it's someone
landscape
different.
design.
Yeah.
Yes,
Not
it's a
the
landscape artist, yes.
It's a interest. If it's not an interest, it's a difficult thing to design, because you need to know your plans, you need to know what works, you need to understand that type of thing. And we've tried it, and we've succeeded in some places, and we've failed terribly in other places. So I would say we get involved. We like to get landscape architects involved, or just landscapers. We have worked with a couple of people out there. And the gardens is beautiful, but it's not to everybody's taste. So you need to understand, again, what does the client like? Because one of my partners in the business, she didn't like how the one landscaper, the choice of plants he had, for example. Garden is beautiful, but it was not her preference when it comes to the plants choices. But the clients loved it. So it's a difficult thing, is you need to take yourself out of that on what is it that you would like and still just put the client's needs first.
And of course, it's very expensive, all the plants, and none of us appreciates it. How many plants go into a garden? They also disappear.
Again, I think that clients don't understand how many plants goes in there, and they don't understand how much time, especially silly thing like irrigation. What goes on behind it, and you must understand how much pressure each sprayer can take, and how much wire you need to take from the valve to the computer to make it open and close automatically. You can't have too many stations open, otherwise the pressure is not enough, then you don't irrigate your whole garden. So it's a lot of things that goes into landscaping. How do you finish off your grass? Do you put steel in there? Do you put bricks in there?
I'm sorry to cut you off, but my advice is always just to say that hire the right people from the get-go. Hire the experts. Hire the architect, hire the designer, hire the landscape artist, all of these people. Let them talk to each other and let you know what needs to be done and for how much, because the landscape architect is the one person that knows how many plants you need and how much each plant goes for,
And the thing is, how quickly that budget can run away.
Yeah.
At one project, we budget for 100,000. We ended up at R1 million for a garden.
I can believe that, because
And
they do disappear, the plants. Yeah.
It's not about disappearing. It's just the client now wanted 500-liter trees. It's 25,000 rand. We put in 10 of those trees, 250,000 rand, and it's not a lot. So it depends on your plant choices where it becomes expensive.
Yeah. No, look, I mean, listening to everything, I think it definitely is highly advisable for anyone that wants to go into this buying land and building. And, so many of our clients will say, I want to build my dream home, but I'll get involved because I'm watching YouTube videos and, I've learned a lot. Pinterest, or, I've been creating my boards forever. Yeah.
We had an interesting case where a client came to us and said, he wants discount on his plan because he already designed his house. And I said, okay, cool. The next moment I get an Excel file, like Microsoft Excel. He's designed his house on Excel. And I'm like, okay, what is this? No, each block represents 1 meter by 1 meter. His stand is this wide. And I was like, okay, that's cool, but we will not be able to give a discount. We still have to take into consideration your wall thicknesses, your ceiling heights, your overall aesthetic of the house. And he, at the end of the day, he didn't go with us because he
thought it's just about drawing, just about using straight lines, and So, any final words? Anything you wanna advise out there to give to?
My last words would be to hire the expert. Always put in the money in the beginning, and you will see the results at the end. Picking up a guy outside of builders, do that if you will, but you will see exactly why he's there and not situated in a company where there is structure, where there is a management aspect type of things. So I think hire the experts from the get-go. There's a reason why we charge project management fees. There is a reason why we take it to the different places that we do, is because we have the right relationships with suppliers, with trade. We have the right relationships, and we know what goes into the work that needs to be done. So always don't skimp out on who you hire. Skimp out on other things. Don't skimp out on the hire.
So that your basement doesn't turn into an indoor pool.
Exactly.
Which I've seen basements filled with water to the brim.
We have a situation now like that, but the power was cut off, so the basement flooded.
Okay.
Because we couldn't pump the water away.
Okay.
But my last words is, I have a couple of words. The first one is plan before you go to site. I can't emphasize that enough. We've seen so many cases where it's such a rush to start building because we want to start building, and then you have to do a lot of changes, and then that just amounts to a lot of money. So it's important before you go to site that everything is in place. That will make the process for everybody easier. It will take the stress off you as a client. It will take the stress of me as the architect, you as the designer. It will take the stress off as from the builder. Plan, appoint the right people. You wouldn't go to a GP for heart surgery or open brain surgery. That's my take on it. Appoint somebody that is qualified to do the job. I mean, a GP can do brain surgery. He has the knowledge, but will you trust him? And a lot of people invest millions and millions and millions of rand. I think on average, 20 million rand is not a lot of money for the type of places we build. So now would you consider investing 20 million rand with somebody that's going to build you a place that won't be able to sell at the end of the day? Will you be able to recover that money in some form at the end of the day? So why will you spend it on the cheapest guy out there? Why will you look at the bottom line when it comes to that? Appoint the guy that you find a connection with, that you find a relationship with. You're going to work with that guy for the next 3 years. So look at somebody that you can trust. Look at somebody that delivers what is promised. And I'm not saying it's me because I don't get along with everybody, but find that somebody that is walking that extra mile for you. If he promises you this, make sure he does that at the end of the day.
Yeah,
Again,
so trust.
Plan properly.
Plan, yeah, so you don't get that the extension cords running across your room.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, fair enough. Thank you guys, really appreciate
Thank
it.
you for having
Thank
us.
you very much.
And thanks everyone for watching. I hope you watched all the way to the end. To me, this told me that I definitely won't be project managing my own buildings. If I'm ever going to venture into this, I think I'm just going to stay put in my house until it falls to pieces. Thanks, guys.
Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
so much.